As the founders of Surefoot, Bob and Russ Shea are obsessed with creating the perfect ski boot for you because they know that a properly fitted custom ski boot will make you a better skier, whatever level you're at. Surefoot, better fitting, better skiing.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Freeride Guide. Mark here, and we already have an update to the episode that you're about to listen to. So we just did the full Fieberbrunn recap episode. There was a lot to talk about due to the shallow snowpack, the fact that they only ran 3 out of the 4 events, snowboard men, snowboard women, and ski women. And the plan was to wait till later in the weather window to hold the ski men's event, strictly because the face wouldn't have been able to handle all of the riders. They only used one half of the Wildseeloder face in Fieberbrunn. So in this episode, we talked about the cut, how it affects the categories that were able to run in Fieberbrunn, and what that means moving forward for the ski men's event, which we thought was going to happen. Well, I just got an email from the Freeride World Tour just about 20 minutes after we finished recording that the ski men's event has been canceled and that the current rankings is who gets to move on to the cut. So unfortunately, the ski men don't get to compete to find out who moves on to the cut. The official word from the Freeride World Tour is as follows. Due to the unfavorable weather conditions, we regret to announce the cancellation of the ski men's category competition at the Fieberbrunn Pro. While initial forecasts suggested the possibility of snowfall, recent developments indicate that precipitation remains concentrated in the Southern Alps while warm air dominates the north. As a result, rain is expected on the Wildseeloder face in the coming days, and even in the case of snowfall, accumulations would be insufficient, with limited weather windows for a safe and fair competition. As this event was meant to be the last chance for riders to secure their spot in the FWT finals, we will proceed with the current rankings based on the best of 3 out of 4 results so far. This means the current rankings will determine which athletes advance to the FWT finals. And finally, the safety of our athletes remains top priority, and given these challenging conditions, we have made the difficult decision not to proceed with the ski men's competition. We sincerely thank the athletes, fans, and our partners for their understanding and continued support. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that the ski men don't get to put down another run to find out if they make it to the finals. So they're only going 4 instead of 5. So currently, Marcus Gogan is in first place, Martin Bender in third, Martin Bender in second, Valley Rayner in third. The ski men competition will send 13 riders. In fourth place, Ben Richards. Fifth, Virgile Didier. Sixth, Toby Raffert. 7, Abel Moga. 8th, Ross Tester. 9, Timo Rolshoven. Wei Tian Ho in 10th. Carl Renier Eriksson and Christopher Turdell in 12th, 11th, and 12th, respectively. And rounding it out just above the cut line is Oscar Mandan. Now, you'll hear us chat on this episode that the field was really, really close. I understand it. The FWT can really only do what they can only play the cards they've been handed, and as they said, safety is number one. But from a fan point of view, man, that's just so frustrating because there are 10 riders within about 5,000 points, and one just on the low side of the cut, Tenla Ketsuno, Mathis Fornessier, Johan Arasil, Tom Pfeiffer, Simon Peridan, all of these guys, five riders had the chance to get above that cut with one more event. So definitely frustrating for them. It's a bummer for us, for the fans, but definitely we understand why the FWT would do it. In this episode, you'll hear Derek talk about his experience talking to the other riders and also being there about what the weather was doing, how the face looked, what the snow was like, and they just couldn't make it happen. So that is the current rankings heading into the Verbier Extreme, the final. So my heart goes out to those guys that didn't get another chance. Hopefully we'll see you on the Challenger event. But for now, we did have 3 fantastic events which went down. We have a brand new world champion crowned, and this is the full recap for the Fieberbrunn Pro right now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Freeride Guide, the only place where you're going to get the analysis, the discussion, the post-event news for everything Freeride World Tour. My name is Mark Warner. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm with
Derek Foos. And just wrapped up a big day in Fieberbrunn, 3 categories down, 1 still to go. And it was incredible. For a comp that went from maybe to on, was pretty sick. Pretty good one, I thought.
Dude, okay, there's lots to talk about. Before we get into that, if you're listening to this, if you've just found the Freeride Guide, because this was an amazing competition and you needed to learn more about it, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button on the podcast you're listening to right now. You can actually watch Derek and I talk about this on YouTube on the Freeride Guide podcast. On the Low Pressure Podcast channel for YouTube. Please hit subscribe and give us a follow. We'd really, really appreciate it. And it helps us grow because we're the only show that does this. We're really the only external extra show about the Freeride World Tour. And that's why we're special. Plus, we're really good at it and we like it. So pumping my own tires here. I'm going to pump some more tires. Surefoot skiing. Ski boots are kind of like the tires of people when they're on the mountain. It's kind of a stretch to try to make this work, but big thanks to our sponsor this season, Surefoot Custom Ski Boots, fitting you for Surefoot custom liners and custom orthotics. As you know, ski boots should be thought of as a long-term investment in your skiing experience. It's the most important piece of gear that you're going to wear. You can get different skis, you can get a different jacket, but your boots are like the most important because they need to fit your feet, and your feet are unique unicorns. They may have a horn. I don't know. The feet are weird. I'm not a big fan of them, but fortunately the people at Surefoot really like feet and they want to make sure your footing is sure. So don't take our word for it. There's 29 locations across the US, Canada, and Europe. So there's probably a Surefoot near you or where you're going to go skiing. Go and experience it for yourself and get some custom foot beds, some custom orthotics, some custom liners, some custom ski boots, so you don't have any pain when you ski. All right. Thank you, Surefoot. This one, Derek, there's a lot going on with this one.
Yeah, man, it was nuts. I mean, just to have it happen at all was never feeling certain. Arriving here and feeling it's like 15, 16 degrees at the top, baking sun, super low tide season. Like the Wildseeloder, the coverage on it was the lowest I've seen. And so it was pretty unclear if this was going to be able to happen at all. They came up with this pretty creative solution to run 3 categories and then leave the biggest one, ski men, for later in the weather window, hopefully. And the reason behind that was pretty simple. The face was not going to be able to hold up to the traffic of the entire field. It wasn't. And you could see it if you watched the comp. You could see rocks coming out in bomb holes and rocks and grass getting more and more exposed on in-runs to takeoffs. The whole looker's right side was closed. The Heusel Cliff, the Eagle, all that was shut because it's rocky at the top and the bottom. So yeah, I was actually pretty impressed with the solution because I think the easier move would have been to just shut it down and taking the rider's safety into consideration, but also the consideration of people who need another result. There's a bunch of people in that area of the cut that were pretty desperate to have a competition. And we do still have that looming kind of in ski men. And we're going to see how that goes, because it's still not a sure thing that we get the ski men category off. We're hoping, but it's not a guarantee right now with the weather window looking like it does.
Yeah. Okay. So everything you just said is great because of many different reasons. It's not great that there's only 3 events out of the 4. I think it's only great because it basically is a callback to what we were talking about during one of the Georgia episodes, which we did 3 of, the pre, the post, and then the post with Drew. So we were talking about, well, what happens if they start the Georgia at 2 p.m.? Are they going to be able to run all the categories? Which ones do they choose? Which one do they drop? And it was kind of exactly what we had thought, what we were kind of assumed, is that, all right, that's because Ski Men is the biggest and it's going to take the longest, let's drop that so we can get the other 3 done. So instead of a timing issue in this competition, it was a weather and conditions issue.
Yeah, exactly.
And as you said, conditions weren't great. It looked warm up there. I know I saw all the the spring break sitting out in the sun getting tan Instagram stories. Ari posted one. And it was like 20 degrees up there. Is that right? 20 degrees Celsius?
I mean, I didn't see a thermometer, but it was definitely, it was hot. Like people were shirts off, people, t-shirts on. Abel was just in shorts and a t-shirt and his ski boots, to come up and watch. But yeah, it was like hot.
And so was there a lot of worry that, like, obviously the FWT was worried that the face was just going to deteriorate. What were the thoughts amongst the athletes? So first of all, what was kind of the reaction of the athletes when they first announced they were only going to do the 3 categories? And then what was kind of their thoughts once they processed that? What was kind of the general consensus about competing in that weather?
Yeah, they liked, for the most part, the compromise solution. The idea that we can get something done. It wasn't that it was unsafe initially. It's that it would be unsafe to run 60 people on it and have lines get to a point where you can't hit them anymore. Landings are just full of rocks, like they don't work. So people were stoked. Like they were stoked to ride. It looked, when we watched the forerunners on the day before the comp, it looked okay. It looked contestable, it looked skiable. And so there wasn't like a big freak out about like, why are we doing this? Everybody really understood why we were doing it. So yeah, nobody was like upset or not wanting to go, which was cool. And yeah, the compromise I think was well received. Obviously people sitting super high in the rankings are kind of good if it gets canceled or run, because they're in a strong position. But the ones that were around or especially below the cut, they definitely wanted to have a chance to get a good result and put themselves up on the above the cut line. So yeah, I think the reaction was generally pretty positive. And yeah, we are now in a spot where we got to wait and see what happens with the weather for Ski Men. Like it needs to snow again because obviously the face is pretty thundered. And then we need a day of sun. So we have the rest of the weather window. I mean, yesterday was before the actual opening of the weather window. So we have a week and a bit to wait it out and see what happens. So I think that's where we're at now. It's going to start precipitating on Monday, and we'll see how much we get and what the freezing levels are. If it's actually going to be possible to run Ski Men. We all hope so. I'm trying to stay optimistic, but yeah, it's not possible with the face in the condition it's in right now. And today was just as hot again.
Yeah, that's wild. So it's great to hear that they were keen on that. And you did bring up a good point regarding the cut. So this, as we mentioned, this competition is the cut. And we saw in those 3 events some really big moves from people that were way down the cut, moved into it. People that looked like they were comfortable aren't going to Verbier. Within Ski Men specifically, some of the riders that aren't necessarily in a good position, are they stressing out maybe a little extra hard because of the chance that they may not get an opportunity to move forward? I'm talking Tenla, Mathis, Joanne, Tom, and Simon Paradan. All 5 of them are within like 2,500 points, 3,000 points of the final cut spot. So there's another 5 riders who are just underneath right on the bubble that could make it if they put down a good run, and one of the other guys above maybe don't.
100%. Yeah, those guys specifically, they want to run. They want to comp here. And obviously they want it to be safe and they want it to work, but they are the ones that are the most motivated for this to happen and most on that side. But it's out of all of our hands. Like the weather has it completely. So hopefully we get the chance to do it. Hopefully they get their chance to try to make some big moves. And as you said, we saw it shake up in the other categories. So it's certainly possible to do. But yeah, like, I don't know. I think we got a good chance of it as long as the weather cooperates, but we just have to wait and see now.
Okay. And then, so that, we'll get to that, the ski man kind of near the end, just to kind of set it up. But let's get into, the competition that was, which was still really fun. I will before we get into that, I want to talk about Paul. It was back. I think he's getting back into the Freeride family. He's been in Europe. I saw him commentate some of the Nanda Freeride, the Challenger event.
Yep.
And then he joined you and Hadley for the first event of the day, and had a lot of really, really cool things to say. We were chatting as we were setting this up, and you actually mentioned one of his comments as I was highlighting it. And having guys like him on the tour, on the broadcast, or even on the show, like we've had Drew on last week, we had Raina on earlier. They just bring that unique perspective that you and I don't necessarily have. So one of the things that he mentioned when talking about the riders and kind of how they choose their runs, or I guess their style of skiing or riding, and he said specifically with the skiers, there's landing first skiers versus takeoff skiers. And I thought about that and made a point of writing it down, and you just brought it up to me off before we started. He was referring to, like, say, landing first skiers like Drew, like himself, Ben Richards, versus, say, takeoff skiers like Marcus, or maybe even like Max Hitzig, or like Oscar, for instance. Oscar's a takeoff skier. Like, I would even say maybe Martin Bender is a takeoff skier, which was really fascinating to me because it kind of separates them a little bit, and it just makes so much sense.
Yeah. I thought that was a really, really clever observation. And as you said, it just immediately when he said it, I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly right. And it's one of the defining features of those people's ski style, which I just think is cool. And as you said, like, it's a great insight that he brings to it. So yeah, great having Andrew on the show. Just has a depth of knowledge and understanding, and hot takes like that were super cool to hear, and I think really valuable for the people watching the show, watching the broadcast.
Yep. I agree, and I'd love to see the FWT kind of adopt more of that. So the riders, the veterans that have put a lot of time in, the legends of FWT, keep them in the fold. I was talking about that with Drew, and I think it'd be beneficial for them to kind of keep them around. We were talking to Drew. Look at Tom Brady, signed like a $300 million broadcast deal, right? Who knows more about the sport as than the athletes that spent years and years doing it, as Andrew just proved. So let's get into this competition. So the competition was originally confirmed. Moved it up a date, as you mentioned. They had to drop one of the categories. The first one to drop was ski women. And this was a couple jaw-dropping moments for sure. Like, I was just speechless. So we're going to go into the top three. Actually, before we get into the top three, I want to announce that we had a wild card, really, really unique wild card out of left field that I didn't even expect coming. Nadine Vollner, who was a 2013 and 2014 Freeride World Tour champion. She's an Austrian, and she came back to the tour and kind of did what Marion did. Oh, I used to do this. I still do, but I used to too, and just absolutely blew me out of the water. So top score was Lily Bradley with a 90. We had Nadine in second with a 87.33, and then Justine came up third. Now I want to talk about Nadine, probably because she was third to drop. We had Molly, who started off with a crash, a couple crashes, unfortunately. Britta was looking really good, crashed in the same spot as Molly, lost both skis. But then Nadine came through and was skiing really fast off the start. Stomped an absolutely huge cliff, massive. Just sent this thing. I haven't seen a ski women competitor air anything this big in a long time, and she absolutely stomped it.
Yeah, she
spectacular.
Said that's the biggest cliff she's ever hit in a competition, and she's 36 years old, and however many years since she's even stood in the start gate. And that she does the biggest air she's ever done in competition. It was unbelievable. I mean, it really changed the tone. You know, after watching Molly and Britta crash, I was starting to wonder in the back of my head, like, oh man, like, is this okay today? You know, should we be running? And Nadine goes, we're like, oh yeah, we're fine. This is fine. Like, those were just unfortunate crashes. You know, Molly bogged in the weird snow. Britta landed on a rock that Hitzig uncovered in his forerun. And man, then Nadine went and was like, oh, as you said, like, she's back after a long time off. Like, I think 2016 or 17 was her last year on the tour, but she's got multiple wins in Fieberbrunn. Like, she knows this face inside out. She lives in Austria, and she's still so good. And to actually raise her level, and she gave a lot of credit to the current generation of World Tour athletes, that she feels really inspired by them, and she didn't want to come to this and wild card in and then be lame. So mission accomplished, I'd say there, because that was so sick. And it really inspired others at the top too. Because just as one example, Lily was never planning on hitting that cliff. She watched Nadine do it. Yeah.
That was a spur of the moment decision.
Audible. Yeah, a last minute audible where she was like, oh, or they were like, oh, that was cool. I'm doing that. And we were skiing with them today. And I guess at the start, she went over to Taylor Dobbins and said, listen, I want to run an idea by you and tell me if you think it's okay or dumb. And then she kind of paused, or they paused, and then said, actually, never mind, because I'm going to do it anyway. And walked away, and Taylor was just left laughing. We're like, what the hell? And then, yeah, boom. So Nadine, like, it was more than just her run, right? It affected the bigger picture too, which I think is just so fantastic. It was really, really cool to see that and get the fireworks going. For sure, out of 3 categories, in my opinion, ski women won the day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, watching that at 2 a.m. again, having to be quiet. I kind of need to find a place to watch this by myself so I can, like, hoot and holler, like, jaw hit the floor, hands above my head, like, waiting to see if she's riding out of that. Just fun. So awesome. So she hit that big drop. You could hear her, Apol specifically said, hey, I always wanted to do this drop. And then you could hear that, I think she said she almost cried when she crossed the finish line. Just because she's like, holy smokes. Hey, and I bet from her perspective, it's like, oh, okay, I can still do this. As you mentioned, the new generation is up and they're doing wild things. And she's maybe like, I used to be the boss here. And can I still hold up? Well, obviously, yes. Answer is a resounding yes. So that kicked it off. The next rider to drop was Justine, who ended up in 3. She hit Nadine's cliff as well. I was like, okay, a couple crashes and then right into I'm like, all right, here we go. Just a slow start, but we're getting right into it. She hit it a little smaller, still impressive. And then another Apol comment is 20 to 30 feet to a rock and still stomps it. So she came up a little short, uncovered a rock, but still, like, rock solid. And we've talked about this in the past with her ability to stay on her feet.
Yeah, man, she didn't uncover a rock. She landed on the cliff face. Like she was that
That's right.
short. She was well short, and I liked, from on Justine's run, that she is known for the freestyle stuff, right? The backflips, like she can do a backflip of anything. She went pure big mountain on that run. A couple big drops up top, and then that huge send out the bottom, and then ripping, or not at the bottom, but the bottom of that part of the face, and then just ripping through. There wasn't really any element of freestyle in the ski women. Nobody was really tricking, because the takeoffs just weren't there for it. The place where we saw Hedvig do backflips before, and Jess Hodder, those jumps are not even. They're just like uncovered bushes.
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
Shrubberies.
I thought that was real sick to see another element of Justine's, her kind of bag of tricks there, or maybe that's not the best analogy, because without tricks,
Yeah.
but in her arsenal, that she was able to go full big mountain and still put down a podium worthy run, including a 30-footer to a rock.
Yeah. Just, and she's currently sitting in the Golden Bib still, because of runs like that. But let's get into this Lily Bradley run. 90.67. It's her second win on the Freeride World Tour. The first was in Kicking Horse, I believe in 2021 or 2022.
Yeah, 22.
Huge top air. So she went in and like aired this like transfer.
Yeah, it's like the classic backflip jump on the sort of Marcus Eder freestyle line, that was really difficult to access. The in run, like you could see it. They're skiing over bushes and exposed grass,
And there's a lot more rock to clear this time
Oh,
too. Like
yeah.
it's not like there was like, you launch the backflip and then boom, as soon as you take off, your landing is snow. Like she like just kind of cruised just over the top of it, like launched this thing. It was really cool to watch.
Yeah, they floated the whole thing, and that lip got worse and worse and worse. Like as we went through the day, and especially into the snowboard men, it became unhittable like that. It was completely square. So the deterioration of the face, decision making was accurate for sure. But Lily being the first one to hit it, just punted off it. What a great way to start that run.
The drone angle when they redid the replay shows it that it's that much more impressive. Like watching it was like, oh, that was cool, but then the drone angle is like, whoa, that was scary.
Yeah, so blind,
so blind, so impressive. Like she just threw caution to the wind in this run, but she was in control the whole way. But the skiing was like, I'm just going for it. As you said, she said that they said to Taylor, like, never mind, I'm just doing it. Just wild. So she was skiing hot. She hit that Nadine cliff faster, maybe a little bit bigger. Stomped it, and then just a really playful bottom, having fun. Probably just realized what she did and was like, all right, cool, this is bonus. I'm just gonna enjoy myself on the way out.
Yeah, and it was hard to get anything going on that bottom section of the face too, because the snow was weird and the takeoffs were terrible and the landings were even worse. So for Lily to make that kind of look cool and fun and poppy and playful, as you said, I give them a ton of credit for it, because it was hard to make that look good, and they definitely did down there at the bottom. That was such a great way to start, like first category, and then wrap it up with that. That was a just incredible. All three that were on the podium hit that huge air, so I was stoked to see the judges rewarding that.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other notables from you from that run?
Well, Zuza Vitek, for sure is a big note. She looks like it's like a full meal deal on the knee, ACL, MCL, meniscus. She's not 100% sure. She was going to the doctor again today to get like the scans and everything, but not looking good.
It's safe to say, unfortunately, it might be safe to say her season's done, which is really unfortunate because she was right there in the mix, for like she's currently sitting in 5 with the 2 throwaways, including today's event. And she had an aggressive start. She hit that double, but just got ejected in the back seat trying to slow herself down. Had to get the heli to extract her out of there, which no one ever wants to see. And it's even more heartbreaking after coming up with that win in Georgia.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll keep you posted on what's going on there as we hear more. But yeah, I think you're definitely on point there. That at the very least, the season's done for Zuza.
Yeah. Well, best of wishes to her, and hopefully she can heal up quickly. But that run by Lily, and then a good run by Astrid as well, even though Justine topped her on the day. Astrid putting in a good run actually made up ground on Justine in the overall. So we're going to talk a lot about the movement today, because this was the cut. We wanted to find out who made it, who didn't. Lily was way down the field before today, and this brought her into just one spot above the cut, and it dropped Ariana Turcomi one stop below the cut. Zuzana is most likely done for the season, so that opens up another space, which means Ariana might be moving through. But
no, that's not how that works.
It isn't.
No,
they don't.
They won't add another one because it's qualified also for next year. So Zuza will have her spot safe for next season, assuming that she's recovered in time. But if she can get surgery quick and then get on the rehab, she's got a decent chunk of time to be back on skis by next January. But yeah, they won't be taking an extra. They may throw a wild card in there, usually like an event wild card for Verbier, just to pad the field up to 7. Often they do if they don't have a Swiss rider in the cut, but they do with Jenna Keller sitting in 3rd overall right now. So we'll see what they do, but it's not an automatic. The person just below the cut bumps up when we lose one to injury like that.
Right. So current overall standings is Justine Dufour-Lapointe with 24,400. Astrid just behind her. So Astrid made ground up on Justine in this event. The only difference they each have a first place. They each have a second place. The only separation is Justine finished 3rd in this event, and Astrid finished 4th.
Yeah.
So that
the
one
whole
placement,
season, and they're one position apart in the points. And keep in mind that there are extra points available for the extreme in Verbier. It's 12,000 for a win instead of 10,000 in the rest of the events for the season. So I really think it comes down to whichever one of those beats the other one. But then also with 12,000 points available, Jenna and Molly are very much still in play. You add 12,000 points to Molly's 18,395, and she jumps right over, especially if some things don't go to plan for Astrid or Justine. So it's wide open going into the finals for ski women, absolutely wide open, which is so cool because I love to see it come down to the finals and have the drama and everything. And I think they're going to do same as last year, where they'll drop in reverse order of their overall standings. So they'll have, Lily will drop first in, like we're talking ski women right now, and then it'll go through, and then Justine will be up there at the top and knowing exactly what needs to happen, what she needs to do in order to secure the title. So it's going to be, I think, so exciting.
It was exciting. They did that last year as well, and it was really, really fun to watch down to the end. So yeah, Jenna Keller, we got to give her some shout outs. She's had 2 silvers, 2 second place finishes, a 6th here in Fieberbrunn. Only rookie to be on the good side of the cut.
Lena Kohler too.
Oh, pardon me. That's right.
Excuse me. Both Region 1 rookies making it through. Both Region 2 rookies, not so much.
Right. So, it's going to be exciting. From what I think you guys said on the broadcast, that Justine could have won here in Fieberbrunn.
Yeah, I didn't want to dig too deep into that because it was complicated. So if she won the comp and Astrid finished below 7th and Molly finished here and so it was like impossible to explain and describe, but I just wanted to put it out there that it is possible. But step 1 was that she needed to win the Fieberbrunn Pro. And so as soon as she got her score and it wasn't as high as Nadine's, then that was done.
Right. You didn't have to do any more math.
Yeah.
So we know the history of that over the last couple of years. All right. So let's get to, so that's kind of the overall. Justine, Astrid, Jenna, Molly, Susanna, Lena, and Lily are on the good side of the cut. And unfortunately, Ariana, Taylor Dobbins, Chloe Hayer, Elizabeth Gerritsen, and Britta Winans are not.
Yeah. So
moving on.
Oh, I was just going to say for Chloe, Britta, potentially Taylor, depending on what she decides to do, they can now go to the North American Challengers and try to win a spot back on the tour for next year. The Region 1 riders can't because of the change in their structure. They have to take a full lap in 2026 of the Challenger Tour. So their next possible option to get back on tour is 2027.
So they can't compete in the final events of it? And then hope that they put down 3 good runs and get in?
Could, but I don't know. I don't think so. I think they qualify into the 2026 Challengers.
Could you maybe ask around, or I can send an email and be like, hey, how does this work? Because it doesn't really sound.
That's how it works.
Because it doesn't really sound all that fair, to be honest, to allow half the field, depending on where you're from, to potentially get back on the tour. Because that's why they started the Challenger anyways. That was why I was to understand they started it.
Yeah,
so you don't have to wait a year.
Yep.
So then
exactly right.
So unless these like Region 1 riders decide to go to North America and compete,
no, they can't do that either.
They can't do that.
No.
So there's a lot of restrictions on here that I'm just going to say in the kind of bubble of fair play aren't right.
Yeah.
You can't, in my opinion, you can't allow half of your field or certain riders, just because of where they're from, to be able to get back onto the tour, to do what they can to get back on the tour, but not have it available for the others. So I don't know if that's right. If they're allowed to compete in the final events, then great. And if they crush it and then they still manage to get on, great. But I don't know. I'm going to have to, I'll send an email and find out if you guys listening.
No, and, I'm telling you, you can send an email, but I'm telling you, that's how it is.
Right. Cool.
And essentially, and I can tell you why as well. So in Region 1, the last couple of years doing the Challengers at the end of the season has been, no pun intended, challenging for snow conditions. In Europe, snow in March is hard to come by. I mean, just take a look at Fieberbrunn right now. So they decided, they being FWT management, because they manage the Challenger Series over here in Europe in Region 1, that they were going to switch to this new series structure where it's a full season long, to give themselves the opportunity or better opportunities to have decent snow conditions. IFSA declined to change their series structure because it's working really well. And you go back and look at Kirkwood, Silverton last year, and Crested Butte, conditions were awesome in March, right? And we're coming into Challenger season here. We got the first one at Whitewater, then heading down to Kirkwood again, and then A Basin, which is super, super high elevation. It's going to be fine. So this is like, IFSA wasn't going to change their series structure because FWT or Region 1 changed theirs. They changed theirs to, kind of the detriment of their riders, as you just described, at least in some people's opinion. But IFSA wasn't going to do that to their riding community, their athlete community. So that's where we are right now. And you're right. Like, it sucks for those cut riders in Region 1 that they can't get back on until 2027.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. With the Region 1 riders that got cut for ski women specifically, are 2 world champions, Ariana Stracomi and Elizabeth Gerritsen, who were brought on as wild cards. So who knows? They may not even want to go through that again. So it may be a moot point, but I guess we'll just have to leave that up to them and wait to see what they say with that. So that's interesting. But I hear you. I'd like to hear what they have to say about it. You know the answer, but I'd like to have kind of an official statement or kind of see what they have to say specifically about it, or talk to someone about it specifically. So I'm going to look into that and see what it is, and see if I can kind of like poke them a little bit, maybe challenge them a little bit and see what they have to say. But that's interesting. All right, well, let's move on. So that's the ski women heading into ski women, I guess, finalists heading into the final event. The Verbier, the Yeti Verbier, the Peak Performance Yeti Verbier Extreme by Honda. I think is what it is. All right, so snowboard women was next, and this one was kind of strange and interesting and conversation worthy as well. We have our first world champion crowned, which we should have brought up at the beginning. That's pretty important stuff. Rookie, I'm sure it's probably safe to assume that she's going to be rookie of the year as well. Noemi Aki is in top spot in this event with an 83.33, which solidified her overall title as the new Freeride World Tour champion in snowboard women. So congratulations to Naomi. In second place, Michaela Davis Meehan with a 78.67 and Erin Sauve with a 66. And because of that, there was a lot of movement in snowboard women. We'll get into it right now. So we started off, Estelle Rosolio did something I don't think I've ever seen.
Yeah, she got lost. She got completely lost and ended up above, the part of the cliff that we saw Nadine and Justine and Lily hit, but without speed and certainly not intending to send that whole block, and had to take her board off. So a no score. When your skis come off, you get a no score. The rule applies in snowboarding, but in the whole time that I've been on the Freeride World Tour, I've never seen it happen. That was the first snowboard no score that I've ever seen. So pretty wild. And she was bummed. She was bummed to get lost like that. And then I don't know if it was her track or just whatever the scoping, but two other snowboard women got lost in that same area, going the wrong way. Kind of going left when they needed to go right, and found themselves over there. Both Audrey Hebert and Nuria Caston-Baron.
It was the next two riders.
Yeah.
Like the very next
so
two
it was
riders.
like super weird to watch. And both of them were just shaking their heads and was like, oh, that was silly. That was dumb. At least they didn't have to take their boards off and billy goat down through the rocks like Estelle did. But it was, I guess it's kind of cool. Hadley was mentioning this after the broadcast that this face, especially in its current condition, is by far the most complex that we've had so far this year in terms of route finding. It's got a bunch of convexity. We haven't really seen people getting lost in comps. And then this one we did. And that is such an, I think, underrated skill on the Freeride World Tour, that ability to navigate complex terrain with only visual inspection. And it was really one of the hallmarks of the good runs that we saw today in all categories, but we're talking about specifically snowboard women. That contrast between, say, Noemi, who was just pounding down, and Michaela as well, clearly knowing exactly where they were going, and Audrey, Nuria, and Estelle, who were not on their landmarks.
Yeah, that's a really great point, actually. I know Georgia was a little bit more complicated because they had several different kind of coulees and like spines and little chutes that you could kind of branch off of. But that's something I hadn't really thought about too, because the riders now, the quality of the riders and their ability to do this visual inspection has proven that they're really good at it. And we haven't really seen a lot of people get lost recently.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point I hadn't thought about. But yeah, it was wild to see the first three get stuck. When Estelle went first, Nuria went next, and realized, all right, maybe I'll traverse out of here. So I'm like, all right, cool. She kept her board off. And then Audrey, she had some good scoping, but then got lost in the same spot. And then it got hung up again. She landed the exit, but just lost on fluidity. Which I think quite possibly could have cost her in the overall. The riders are all so close that anybody who won today or did well today was almost guaranteed to be on the good side of the cut, and anybody who didn't do great was going to be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it was tough. And, between Audrey and Nuria before this, it was really, really tight. Audrey was above and Nuria was below. And Erin did her part. Like if she had maybe, if she had won, basically, she could have made it because she was coming from quite a bit lower. But Audrey said, she's like, all I needed to do today was beat Nuria, and I didn't. So Nuria's in, Audrey's out, which is rough. But it's also free ride. That's how it goes. And yeah, she was bummed because she's like, man, if I just didn't get lost there, I probably would have been sweet. But you gotta have the scoping on lock, and especially when it matters at crunch time. So yeah, we see Nuria above, along with Anna Martinez, Michaela Davis Meehan, and Noemi Aki, the new world champ, who, if we can just take a second to look at her score line, she is throwing away a second place result because she has 3 wins. It's best 3 out of 5. She's throwing away a second place result, which is just incredible. Such a dominant performance from Noemi this year.
Yeah, unreal as a rookie. So I think we have a new, serious force on the Freeride World Tour. Great to see Michaela really kind of step into it. She's had a few years where it didn't quite come together, but this year it did. A first place in 2 seconds, followed by Anna Martinez with 2 second places, and then Nuria with 2 bronzes, which Erin also finished up with two third places on the podium. It's just that final third result, which once again came down to 1 place, a 4th versus a 5th.
Yeah.
So that shows you
close.
how tight it really, really was. And then same thing for Audrey is she came in 3rd and then had 2 4th places as well. So really came down to today. Watching Naomi ride, full tilt, aggressive through the exposure. She kind of had this like wild power slide at the top into that double, and then instant carve around that to get around that rock, which was really cool. And I think the only 360 of the day for them,
Yep.
the only trick. So she made no doubt, like, this is mine. This is mine. I own this now. It's mine.
It was very clear. It was very clear. And Michaela had a great run too. Don't take anything away from her run. It was fast, fluid, smooth. She hit some good sized airs.
The nice grab too. Got the grab in.
Yeah, but it was Noemi's day and Noemi's season, and now she can go to Verbier with absolutely no pressure, and see what she can do on the back, which is exciting. It is super reminiscent of Marion Arti. Like she's got all wins in her score line. Her riding was head and shoulders today, and the line too. She didn't leave a single feature miss. She didn't ride past anything that she could have hit. So it was awesome to see that. And I think we're starting the Noemi era here, and everybody else better watch out or step it up.
I want to see her win another one, and then see Marion come back and have them go head to head. Because as we've mentioned, and even I guess on one of the videos that they posted, she shouts out Marion as one of her inspirations, right? Getting to Erin on 3rd spot, another good run from her. Like Erin grab, I think she's going to need a base grind after sliding down that cliff section. But that's been kind of a lot this year. There's been a lot of damaged boards and damaged skis this season. So congratulations to Noemi, and like you said, she's going into Verbier with 0 stress. So it might be something fun, being like, hey, I can ride. I can approach this as I get to ride the Beck, because she's a rookie, hasn't done it yet, in a way that I want to do it. That's fun for me, rather than how I think I need to do it in order to win, which is very different.
Yeah. I'm super excited to see how that's going to play out, and what kind of strategy she's going to put in play to move forward with the world title already wrapped up. Yeah, pressure free, go get it done, win another one this year, and then have that perfect score line of all firsts.
Right on. And to touch on a little bit what we just spoke about with the challengers, well, Erin, another world champion, is missing the cut, so that's 3 now. But her and Audrey are both Canadian riders, which means they can go to Region 2 and compete and potentially get back on the tour. Have you spoken to either of them about their intentions?
Neither of them was sure. They were not sure. It's
It's a bit
It takes a
soon.
minute. Yeah, it takes a minute to absorb the sting of missing the cut, and so people need to process that, and they'll. I think they'll start to consider that here in the upcoming days. You know, the Challenger organization crew will need an answer from them sooner than later. But yeah, it's as at least from my seat, unclear right now.
Fair enough. And I want to mention that when I spoke to Drew, he had talked about how he made an argument that it's time for more snowboard women in the final to increase the field and send more snowboard women to the final, just based on what we've seen with the level of competition and the parity through snowboard women this year. Like we were just talking about looking at the rankings, like anybody could have made it in. So, you know, he has seen the level rise. He's been on the tour. He gets it. I agree with him. I think that they need to start adding a bit more. So instead of taking 3 from the challengers, 1 from each, and then a third, which is what they've been doing, like a kind of a floater to kind of see who's best, I think they should take at least 2 from each. That's my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I think they proved it this year. It's time.
All right. So let's move on. Snowboard men. This one was shocking as well, only because there was so much movement within the field. There's riders that you're almost certain were going to make the cut that did not, based on what happened. Pretty spectacular.
Yeah, you know, the reference there, Remy Benamo and Timmy Schroeder. Remy was in 4th overall. You know, looking in at the overall podium situation, and he had the exact wrong series of events happen to make him below the cut. You know, you got to feel for the guy. Like it just was the precise worst possible outcome for him. Was exactly what happened with Cody and Liam doing obviously really well, and Michael Mon and Holden doing also very well. Yeah, so Remy Benamo and Timmy Schroeder getting dropped from what felt like a safe distance above the cut going into this comp, but clearly wasn't with the way it all shook out. And yeah, I mean, even now, the points, Remy below the cut at 16,190, Michael Mon above it at 16,640, Enzo 16,795, Cody 17,000. Like it's all so sorry, Holden. It's all so close there, and yeah, it shook out that way, the way that it did. But this is the glory and the heartbreak of freeride. You know, even with 5 events, it can come down to 1 or 2 places, and that was the outcome there for Remy and Tim Schroeder.
Yeah, exactly. And then those of the riders that ended up moving up was Michael Mon was below. Cody was quite significantly below, but all you need is 2 really good results because he's now sitting in 3rd place with a 1st and a 2nd. And it came down right to the final rider of the day to determine that. There was a lot at stake. So, top spot, last guy to drop, finished off the comp for the day, Liam Rivera with an 87. Some big airs, big speed, a really, really interesting line. And I think that quite possibly was what pushed him over the top. It took a really, really long time for them to judge his run based on what they had seen with Cody Bramwell and Holden Samuels, who ended up in 2nd with Cody at 84.33, Holden with 81. Took them over 6 minutes to judge. I actually was like, this is taking a long time. I scrolled back through the timeline just to see how long it took. And they needed to make sure they had to deliberate. They needed to make sure they got it right.
Yeah.
And what is shocking in his interview, it's kind of his first clean run, his first landed. He said it on his interview. It's like his first landed run of the season, even though he got a 2nd in Georgia, which means like last year we talked about it. Last week we talked about it. Only 1 clean run was landed in Georgia, and that was Cody. So this is like the only clean run really he's landed this season, and he's sitting second. He's sitting 2nd overall.
Yeah. It's been wild and really, really variable in snowboard men this year with who's putting down clean runs and who's crashing. There has been a lot of crashing and then some unbelievable runs. And this one was no different. I mean, we saw Victor, super uncharacteristic, just get his board bounced out from underneath his feet. And yeah, Liam does one clean run in the season, wins comp. And the pressure of being super tight on the cut, being the last guy to drop, like there was a lot going on up there. And a bunch of people, I guess I can apply this statement to, really, really clutched up. Like Liam, Cody, Holden, and Michael Mon were all very much at risk in this comp, and all of them delivered exactly what they needed to do when they needed to do it to make it happen. And that is seriously impressive.
Yeah, no doubt. Like we on the chat through YouTube, we were chatting with a couple, Brendan Metzler, who works with IFSA, and a few others. Were like, well, what happens if this, and what happens if this, and can this person, if this person gets, like, we're trying to do the real time calculation to see if these riders would be able to make it through. But even then, it was hard to predict. Because who knows, like who expected this. So congrats to Liam for coming through, and it was, what a way to end it with a little bit of suspense. And of course, Cody and Liam are good buds, so he was stoked for him. And it's nice to see Holden put down a really solid run as well. It's funny, he seems to just kind of come out of the woodwork every once in a while and just put one down when he needs to. He's an interesting rider, Holden, to me. He's got a second place and a third place, but then also, an eighth and 2/8, an eighth, the seventh, and an 11th. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, it just depends for him, I guess, how he's feeling on that day.
He's checkers or wreckers. He's like, I talked to him after, and his big issue this year with all of those finishes that you just described, they're all crashes, and they're all crashes from going too fast, going too big off stuff, missing the transition, just sailing past the transition. When he finds features that he can either just fire off and not go too far because there is no too far, or gets the speed right, he is really good, really, really good. And I think he's starting to dial it in, because we've seen now, he plugged and punch fronted in Georgia, but he's got 2 podium finishes. He's totally secure. He's in the cut. He's going to Verbier. So yeah, I think he's starting to figure out, maybe like 90% run is the way to go. 110 wasn't really working. So stoked. Happy to see Holden. And that run was cool. It was fast. It was fluid. It was stylish. He was spinning, and he landed in the right places, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. So good for him. Just bump his way up. So the way that the overall looks is Victor De La Rue in top spot, Liam Rivera in second, Cody Bramall in third. So that just proves one really good result to finish it off, and they're both sitting podium for the overall. John Powell is sitting in fourth spot, not far behind. Then Holden, once again, just proves. Enzo has had a pretty interesting season. He's had that first place, I think, is kind of what's keeping him there. He's had a 4th, and then other than that, his other score is a 9th. He had a 10th and then a 12th. So that's kind of crash. And then Michael Mon has had a couple 4th spots and a 3rd place. So that's kind of got him above the limit. So looking at this, because they take the top 4 out of 6 for the overall.
Yeah.
If Cody or Liam win and Victor does worse than, say, I think 6th place or 7th place, either of them can take the title. And I don't know what chance John has. I think he may be a little bit too far out of it. I think the only possibilities are Victor, Liam, or Cody to take the overall. If either of them win, it'll tie them with Victor for wins with 2. But then they each have a silver spot instead of a bronze spot, which will put them over the top. And I guess it'll just depend on that final result, which actually is an 8th place, 8th and a 7th place. So I think if they Yeah, I'm trying to do the fast math, but
Yeah.
if either Liam or
Don't spin yourself around, because keep in mind that there's 12,000 points
True.
for the win in Verbier.
True.
So it means more, and you'd be I don't want to say you'd be dumb, but it'd be hard to bet against Victor on the back. It would be hard to bet against him there. He's most at home in that big terrain, and John Penfield as well. But I mean, these guys are all so good that it could really, whose day is it going to be? And it's really cool. Last year, Victor had it wrapped up by Fieberbrunn, so it's really cool that we're in a spot now where we're going to Verbier with it all to play for.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, there's, I think, at least the three of them. I think John Penfield may be a long shot, just looking at the point scores. But yeah, if either of those guys, John, or if either of those guys, Liam or Cody, wins and Victor crashes, there's a good chance that one of those two guys stands on top.
Yeah,
and what a comeback!
Yeah,
what a comeback
from the bottom. Now we're here.
Yeah, wow, unreal. So now that we kind of know how that's played out, we're still waiting for Ski Men, which hopefully we'll see what happens. Should we just go over the overall with Ski Men currently, just to kind of set ourselves up and see what's happening? You know, whether we do or we don't have this competition here in Fieberbrunn.
Yeah, so Marcus Skogan sitting pretty on top, but it's by no means done. He's only he's only 3 and a bit thousand points ahead of Martin Bender and Valley Rayner. It's all pretty close there, and again with 12,000 available, and this is a much bigger field, so you're going way down in the points as you get down to finishing, below 11, 12, 13, because there will only be 13 of them going through to Verbier. And down around the cut, it is tight. Carl, Christopher, Oscar, all on 14,000 something. And then Tenla and Matisse on 13,2 and 13,240. And really, this has the potential, at least, for as big or bigger shakeup than what we just saw in Snowboard Men. So I'll tell you for a fact that Tenla, Matisse, Joanne, Tom, Simon, Finn, those guys want to run this Fieberbrunn comp big time. And maybe Oscar, as the guy sitting right on the cut line, would be pretty okay if it was canceled.
Yeah, right. Although I know him.
Yeah, he wants to.
He's going to want to ride. So between Timo Rolshoven in 9th place, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and Tom Pfeiffer, Simon Paradin, 10 spots. There's a 4,780 point difference, which is not much. Like that's like 10th place, I think, in another event. So we have 10 riders that could really move or really, really drop. So that's going to be really exciting to watch. So I'm going to make sure to make a screen grab of the current standings after this, where we're sitting at right now. And then we can revisit it and see it when we do that recap. So I'm excited. So hopefully we'll be able to see these guys go down, because we always want to make sure that happens. We want to make sure everybody gets to compete fully so we can get that full scope of the season. So hopefully the weather comes in and you guys get to do it again. Have you ever done a second in one spot before? I don't think so.
No, I have not. So yeah, we're breaking new ground here. Just trying to make something work.
I think the only time that I can remember an individual category being redone was here in Fieberbrunn a few years ago for Snowboard Men. And I think that was the first really inkling that, hey, we can do a double run. So we haven't really talked about this much, but Fieberbrunn the last few years has been a 2-run format because the cut has been the event before, usually after Kicking Horse. But then they brought it back to the single run format, which I like. But yeah, that's kind of the only time I can remember them running an individual category to catch up or to make up for it.
Because Snowboard Men couldn't run in Andorra. The weather came in, it was too foggy and nobody could see anything. So they shut it down and restaged Snowboard Men. So they did 2 runs. That was before the 2-run format, but they did 2 runs on one day. And Nils Midnick won both of them. That was a huge day for him. So now we're on hold. We'll wait for ski men, wait for the weather, and hopefully we get a bit of snow in the face. And then we'll keep in touch, keep in tune with the socials from us, at Freeride Guide on Instagram to just figure out what's going on. Because right now we don't even know. We're just going to wait and see.
Yeah, waiting game. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We want to hear your thoughts. Maybe we didn't bring something up. Maybe you had an idea or a thought. Send us an email, backslap@freerideguidepodcast.com. I get those emails. I read them all, and we may just read your question online. If you're watching the event, I usually watch it on the YouTube feed, and then chime in the comments, say hello, and then you never know, I might steal something that you said on there and bring it up here because it's a good talking point. So Derek, thanks for this, man. I know it was a big night for you last night, so I appreciate you hopping on. And I guess you guys are gonna have to do it again in a few days, hopefully.
We'll see. But thanks, Mark. Looking forward to talking to you soon when we have another comp under our belts.
All right, everybody. Thanks again. Thanks to Surefoot Skiing for sponsoring the show with their custom ski boots, fitting you for custom heated liners and custom Surefoot custom orthotics. Make your feet feel good. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we will talk to you sooner than you think. Peace out, Derek. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
This has been a Redmark Media production.